Hello, in this video I'm going to look at the Yoast SEO plugin for WordPress by Team Yoast. So the first thing we need to do is to install the plugin, and the good thing about this plugin is it's in the WordPress repository, so it's very standard to install. So all we need to do is go to our plugins and add new, and then we can search for the Yoast SEO plugin. And when that comes in, we just need to click on install now. And once that's installed, we can activate. There we are. Our plug is installed and ready to be set up. So the first thing we're going to look at is setting up the connection to Google Search, which is formerly the Google Webmaster Tools. Now we want these connections because it gives us feedback from Google Search when it has problems reading the site and indexing it. So Google is under this Yoast SEO connection, and we've been prompted already to connect with the console. So I'm already authenticated with Google, so I didn't need to pull anything up. It's immediately got us listed there. But if you do need to be authenticated by Google, it will take you to a page. You'll need to log into Google, and you'll be given an authorization code, which you then put in here. So I click on that, get an authorization code, click allow, and it will then put an authorization code to authenticate, and I'm then connected, or the site is then connected to the tools. I don't need to do that because I already am. In fact, I will now because I've now gone around the loop and set up the situation, so let's do it again. Take the data, copy the data, put it in there, click authenticate, and I'm now listed. I can now save the profile, and we are now listed to the Search Console. So that's going to give us some potential error messages when we have feedback from Google. It won't happen immediately because I only just set it all up again. Okay, so that's stage one done, and that will report back as we go in the future. So the next thing we're going to set up is the title and meta tags. So from the Yoast SEO, you'll see there's a section called titles and meta tags. Now this allows us to basically take the information off the pages and make it more easily readable by Google. So let's show you how it works on the home page, and that will give you an idea of how this system works. Now, if we don't do anything, Google will try and make up its own answers to what it needs to put on Google search. And the usual things it will look for, because it understands WordPress, being 60 million WordPress sites out there, it does understand WordPress. It will find the heading, and it will find this content text, and it will tend to use those two. But they might not be the best thing to put on a Google search, because this is an introduction to everybody, whereas a Google search wants to be a bit more precise. As you see, we've only really got 2 lines to work with. So if we scroll down to the bottom, we will see there's a Yoast SEO section which tells us what we're going to see. and we can then edit that content to make it easier to follow for Google. Now, there is being some very blatant hints going on here from Google underneath. Sorry, from Google. About Google from Yoast underneath. Because I'm not really targeting keywords. If I want to be searched and found on a particular keyword, then I need to use that keyword. I can't just expect Google to realise that I'm very special for WordPress training, say. So there's no relevance here to WordPress training. So if I edit the snippet, we can actually be a bit more precise in giving Yoast a hint to Google about what we are all about. So I can put here the WP Business Club provides WordPress training. That's the end. And advice. Join us for reviews and comment on WordPress and marketing your website. Full stop. There we are. Okay, so I've edited that, and I now want to put my focus keyword in, just so Yoast knows what it is. Now there is an upgrade. You can actually update to a premium version of Yoast SEO, and it allows you to run around with multiple keywords. If you do not understand keywords or you want some more help, then that's quite a good upgrade, but I don't really need that. I'm just using it to just to give me a bit of advice and make sure that I'm hitting the right things. So I'm doing pretty well here. It's coming out as a good reading test, which is what Google's using to make sure we're not an automated bot. I've got a good number of words, paragraphs okay, sentences contain words, not short, not too long. I'm doing pretty well. It's passive voice. I'm not being aggressive in my connection, so that's good. The only thing is I don't have my keyword in that hard at the moment for this particular, but actually I'm not so worried about that. If you've got a very obvious site and you want to hammer your keyword on the first page, then fine, but I actually prefer to be hammering keywords in internal pages where I get more bites at the cherry, so that is fine for me. But the other thing that Yoast SEO is going to do for us, which is important because it's something we can't do so easily by hand, is we can actually add some code in here which gives us a title and a description and an image for Facebook and for Twitter. So if somebody takes our page and makes comments of it directly through Facebook and Twitter, we've got a chance here to throw in some code to, well, blatantly hint to Facebook and Twitter exactly who we are and what we're doing, not relying on, again, Facebook and Twitter to interpret us like Google might interpret us. So you should fill this in, these Facebook descriptions, find an image, a generic image for your site. Remember, this is the home page, so it could just be a generic one for the home page. And fill in these for your Twitter and your Facebook. And all you want to do is just make a check that this is not going to conflict with something else, because, for instance, we use easy social share buttons and they have some Facebook and Google content as well. So be careful you don't get crossovers between the pages. If you don't have that though, this is another really neat feature. And this is something which you shouldn't be using too much. These basically are the no-follow controls, and this would be if you wanted to Google to leave a few pages alone. Maybe you've got some membership pages and a non-member just sees join us and you think that that looks silly on the index, and you're probably right. So in that case you might want to do a no-follow on a particular page. but you probably want to make sure that Google's indexing as much of your site as possible. Another great thing this has is Google Sitemaps. So let's have a look at those. Google Sitemap is basically a page of content which defines all the pages on your site. And this is very useful if you are concerned that Google's not picking up all your pages. Now, I'm quite confident the Google Sitebot is going to do a good job nowadays, so I'm not so worried about this. But if you've got a new site, this allows you to create a file which you can then give to Google, and Google will know then where your pages are. Now, you can also set one up for your author. You can make sure your post types, campaigns, in other words, all your extra bits of content that you have, and I've got a lot in this one. So if you've got custom post types, you can make sure that they are either in or not in the sitemap. Media, not in the sitemap, is a default. You might think nowadays though that having images on Google search is really important, and you might put them in the sitemap. You may want to exclude specific posts. You need to do that by setting their index number. But there may be specific posts that you don't want to put on the sitemap. And the taxonomies are the categories and tags, and any extra category and category formats that you've created. But at the end of it, you will end up with, and mine's pretty pathetically small, you will end up with a sitemap. So there's a sitemap for my posts and there's a sitemap for my pages. So if I go on my post, for instance, there's a big long file there. And this information, as I said, can be used by Google search to see what's going on your site. Right, the next thing we'll look at is the advanced features. So the advanced features are the sort of things which are useful but not needed type features, really. There are quite a few people nowadays who say that having a breadcrumb is a useful thing on a website. So breadcrumb is a list of the sections within which your page is, so that people can work their way backwards. And search engines quite like that list as well. So you may want to enable breadcrumbs. But of course it then needs to be inserted into your theme, so you may decide that that's actually quite hard to do. And it may be your theme already supports breadcrumbs in its own right. If you defined your permalinks well, then again, this is one of these things that shouldn't be needed. But one neat thing it does is if you've got a category link, it can remove the word category from the URL. And one warning about all these sections in here is if your site has already been indexed by Google and you start using these, your links are not going to work the same. And you may or may not find that you get listed again. I will not guarantee you get listed again. So it is a good thing to set up at the beginning when your site's first set up to get these things sorted, but don't play around in mid-flow with them too often, because you can confuse and frustrate Google search. And the tools are really part of the same thing. These are advanced things which you don't really need most of the time, but if you are going to use your site and move it around, you might want to use the import and export. And if you are doing a mass edit of all your pages, the bulk editor again is a useful tool, but in normal circumstances you won't need it. And lastly, Search Console is from where we set up at the beginning, which is the feedback from Google search engine spiders to tell us if we have any issues. So what do I think of Yoast SEO? Well, I can see why all the people are downloading it, because if you don't know a lot of SEO, then this is a good, safe way to make your site better, and it works. And these extra plugins as well, if you're not an expert in those particular areas, are again useful. But if your site was well designed and well configured from the start, then you wouldn't necessarily need any of this at all. So when I use it, well, yes, because most people, it's easy to give them this, get them started, than it is to set them up and train them on all the other issues. So for the average user, I would certainly set the basic one. And if you are going to do local or video, those plugins do help, but only if you're going to do a lot of it. If you just want a little bit, then they're probably not worth the effort. And if you want to do multiple keywords and keep an eye on multiple keywords, then the Yoast SEO Premium plugin upgrade again is worth having. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll be reviewing other plugins on the site. Have a look at them and see what you think as well. Thank you very much.
For more info, visit wpbusinessclub.com.